Hey, unfortunately in golf, there's this very real phenomenon called feel versus real, and it can even make the best golfer or the best teacher describe their swing differently than the way they're actually doing it. So right after this, let's take a look at some swings from my mentor, Mike Austin. And I want to show you that, especially near the end of his life, he was describing a swing motion in an incredibly different way than he actually did it when he was hitting all those long straight drives in his heyday. So I think this will be a real eye-opener for some. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. I continue my journey to hit the ball longer and straighter than I ever have before, and hopefully in the process I'll be able to get you there too. Hey, I worked personally with Mike Austin for about a year off and on between about 1992 and 1993. He taught me a ton of stuff. He's an amazingly colorful character, really fun to watch him teach, but also to watch him swing. Now at that point, he could only swing with his left arm and no weight shift because he had been paralyzed by a stroke about 4 years earlier. But what's interesting, I've gotten a lot of ex-Mike Austin students or Mike Austin disciples who have studied what he does online, and a lot of them getting in a lot of deep trouble because of the way that Mike Austin would demonstrate and describe the golf swing was extremely different than how he did it. All right, let's go to the monitor for this. First, we're going to take a look at a black and white video of Mike hitting the ball at Annandale Country Club right around 1950 or so. So Mike would have been about 35 years old in this. And I'll try to slow it down a little for you and frame by frame, and it's really hard with old video like this. But you'll be able to see a couple things here. That number one, he keeps his butt back on what I call the chair, or back on the wall. In other words, the depth of his butt stays pretty consistent as he goes through the ball. And secondly, you can see how he exits, even looking at it from the back up the line, looking back up the fairway at him view, you can see that the club exits as he turns his body and rotates his chest open. The club handle and the club shaft exit on an arc around to the left in what some people might describe as low and left. What Mike Austin always talked about, absolutely despising the idea of the club going low and left. He wanted the club to exit high and right. Now let's take a look at Mike in the studio much later on, maybe just before he had his stroke. And this is the famous footage of him in the skeleton suit swinging in slow-mo and describing the swing. But watch as he describes a different foot action here. He's not describing a foot action or a tailbone action as that he would demonstrate when he's hitting the ball, but instead he's demonstrating to push the thigh this way, flex the knee, he says, lift the heel or extend the ankle, which causes us to trend to push the pelvis in towards the ball this way. Now, the second thing you'll see in the skeleton suit video is that club gets in like this, and then he advocates whirling it just like this. Okay, so I could tell you that motion makes me cringe. You copy that motion, I guarantee you're going to shank it about a third of the time, you're going to duck hook it a third of the time, and you're going to hit a big rope hook down the middle about a third of the time. So you're not going to have a very high batting average, and your dispersion is going to be massive. That swing won't hunt, as Mike used to say. That swing won't hunt. The shaft is too tall coming in. The face goes too open to closed. There's very little rotation of the torso here, so it won't even pick up as much speed. So what Mike is describing there is simply much different than how he performed the swing. Now, it's possible that he simply altered his method, but it's also possible that he's caught up in the feel versus real phenomenon where that's how he really perceived his swing performing. Now let's take a look at one more swing. This is Mike. This is probably the early to mid 80s, I want to say, and this is a from the Studio City DVD. Most of you have never seen this footage, but this is Mike. Used to just drive the ball still. You know, he's in his early 70s probably, and he's driving the ball over the fence at Studio City with every drive with all those old crappy range balls. You can see he's got incredible amount of balance and a high rate of clubhead speed effortlessly. It's just got to be the best swing I've ever seen in somebody of that age. It's unbelievable how limber, how explosive, how balanced he is. I mean, he just stands there in perfect balance every time. But again, you're seeing a swing that is unlike what he describes, both in the skeleton suit and when he's instructing Mike Dunaway. He shows you this wrist action like that, and he wants the club to cross the flight line. But you'll see, and this video is not of high quality because it comes off of a VHS tape, but you watch this enough times, you realize that Mike is not swinging anything like that. He's rotating the chest a lot more, and that club is staying on plane and exiting around this way, and then he stands in balance like that. So a lot of Mike Austin disciples out there can get in a heck of a lot of trouble if you follow the wrong Mike Austin swing, the swing that he described, especially later on in his career. But instead, what I follow and what I think you should follow is follow the swing that made the money. Follow the swing that set the record. Follow the swing that could hit the ball long and straight over and over and over again. Follow what he did. Don't follow what he said. In a lot of cases. There are still some cases where he's describing very powerful, accurate motions, but this structure of swing is not going to hunt. You're going to get yourself tied up in knots and go into a Great Depression because you simply can't hit 3 straight shots in a row. What I try to present on this channel is what I believe Mike Austin was actually doing when he swung the club at his best, and that is when he was really knocking them out there long and straight. And that is what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm trying to get you to do also. So keep that in mind whenever you watch Mike, or really any other teacher, that sometimes the way they describe it, it's the voice in their head telling them what it feels like, but you might see something a little bit different than they're describing. All right, I'm going to go back and keep working on my best Mike Austin swing. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Steve, and as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.